Hey guys, I'm Jordan and you're watching Fixbook. After watching this video, your car problems stand about as much a chance as this laptop does against my hot lead. Now, make sure you stay tuned so you can see what happened to the laptop at the end of this video. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below. So today I'm going to be showing you how your radiator cap works. And why would I make such a video? Well, if you know how your radiator cap works, then you can know if it's broken or not. And basically, if you know how anything works, you can basically fix it. So I'm going to be explaining to you how this little guy works. And if you've ever had an engine coolant leak or consumption problem, then you'll know that hearing all you need is a radiator cap, you'll know that that's good news, because you don't have to change your head gasket or get a new cylinder head, or it's like $10 compared to like a $1,500 problem. It's a good problem to have when you have an engine coolant leak, because engine coolant leaks are never a good thing. So I'll take you over here to the table and I'm going to show you how this little guy works. And basically this guy can be the cause a lot of times of a coolant leak. If you look up on top of your radiator and you see fluid sitting there, or if it's dripping right from the radiator, it's especially common in the Honda Civics, the I guess 5th generation Civic or whatever. A lot of times we'll see this cap fail, and I'm sure it fails a lot on other cars as well. So I'll show you how this works and you'll be able to know whether or not you need to replace this piece. And one quick little tip I wanted to share with you guys before I begin talking about the radiator cap is, I figure if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you're going to need to pour radiator fluid in your radiator. I just want to give you this tip here. It'll help you keep things cleaner and it'll prevent you from making such a big mess. Instead of pouring the coolant like this right here, if you can see the coolant's about to come out, you're going to want to lean the bottle sideways. And as you can see, I'm getting much closer to the thing there, and I'm not making such a big mess. So that's just an easier way to do it, because when you pour this way, it's going to start pouring out while the bottle's way higher, and if you pour that way you can get a lot closer, so you won't make such a big mess. That's just a quick little tip, because I figured most of you guys are probably going to be adding coolant to your radiator soon. Alright, so here's our coolant cap, and there's 3 aspects of the coolant cap that are important. We've got this rubber piece, I kind of turn them here, we got this rubber piece sitting in there, and that's what actually seals. And if that fails, or if this cap gets deformed somehow, this is where the coolant is going to escape. It's going to come around the seal and it's going to go from inside the closed system to outside of the closed system. And let me talk about that too for just a second. It's really important that you understand that the coolant system is an absolutely closed system. That's why if you ever lose coolant, if coolant ever starts to disappear, there is absolutely a problem, because there's no way you just use coolant kind of like you use engine oil. You don't just use coolant and have it be like kind of a small problem, generally speaking. So if you're beginning to lose coolant anywhere, it should be an absolutely closed, airtight system. So this is what I'm saying here. This seal, this rubber seal, is what's going to keep the coolant inside the closed system. Now, the 2 other aspects of the radiator cap here is we have the sprung part here, which is probably, the spring's probably rated at like 15 pounds or 18 pounds or something. When the system gets above that 15-pound threshold, this spring will contract and coolant will leave, and it'll go through these little holes. There's a hole there, and maybe I can spin. No, I can't. But there's 1, 2, okay, yeah, so there's 4 holes around this little cap, and that's, if you see that little hose going from your reservoir to your coolant cap, that's your kind of one-way road where the coolant goes back and forth, and that's where it comes out of the cap, is these holes right here. And there's 2 ways for the coolant to come and go from these holes, and that's, like I just said, when it compresses at 15 to 18 pounds or whatever, and the coolant will leave. And then when the car starts to cool down, the coolant will go from the reservoir through these holes back into the system. And you might be wondering, well, how does that work? So again, it's important to understand that it's a completely closed system. So when a completely closed system, an airtight system, begins to equalize, well, really a controlled closed system. It's really a controlled closed system that when it begins to equalize, something has to happen, because whatever's being contained, the object containing it is going to take on pressure or vacuum. So, but this is a controlled closed system is what I'm really going to call it. And so when your car begins to cool down, what happens is it's been under all this pressure and it's been letting all that fluid go into the coolant reservoir. So what's going to happen is it's going to create a vacuum. And when the vacuum is created, this little piece is just going to drop down. And this is the way that the coolant will flow back. This is how the coolant from the coolant reservoir goes back. And it kind of just works like a straw. The hose that goes from the coolant cap to the coolant reservoir just pulls, and it's able to pull that fluid back into the system. And that's how, if you've ever wondered how the fluid flows back and forth. So, and actually some of these, you see this one just kind of freely floats. There's actually some out there that have a spring loaded little valve here. This one isn't spring loaded, but when you pull on it, it would be spring loaded. So I think this is a little inferior to that type of radiator cap. So again, I'll just kind of summarize and conclude this video for today. We've got the three aspects of the radiator cap. We have the seal part of it to ensure that no fluid leaves, which is going to be your rubber piece right here. So if your radiator cap is leaking, you maybe just look at this seal and see if that's not in poor condition, and that would confirm that you need a new radiator cap. And then also make sure your valve here, make sure it is going down and it's also not stuck down, because that would be a problem too if it was stuck down and if it wasn't going down at all. And then also you want to make sure that this part is coming out and it's not stuck closed, because that's another thing that can happen. And you want to make sure it's not stuck open as well, because all those would cause problems. So you want to make sure that your cap is working properly to make sure that you're not having those coolant problems. Like most of the time you'll be leaking coolant, or if it's unable to throw that coolant in the reservoir, that could also cause a problem. It could cause hoses to bust, and it could cause head gasket problems. It could cause a number of things, because if the pressure just keeps rising and rising above 15 pounds, then eventually something's going to give. So those are the things you can check there. I know I was going into conclusion, but I just kind of brought some new information to the table. So the things you can check when, I guess, diagnosing your radiator cap is that seal. And a lot of times you're not going to be able to tell if it is leaking just by looking at it, but there may be some visual evidence of a bad seal there. And then I'm concluding here again, you just want to check that this is operating properly, and then this will close well, and then it'll come out like that. So that concludes today's video. Hopefully now you understand how your radiator cap works, and if you've had some kind of coolant leak, or maybe you've had some kind of repetitive giving in the coolant system, like hoses, stuff has been going left and right, just check and see if that works. So hopefully you understand your radiator cap better now. And that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe so you can catch all my new videos, which publish Mondays and Fridays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 p.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and I will see you then. Alright guys, and here's what it's going to sound like when it's running on just 2 cylinders. Okay guys, so this is the test drive for the 2-cylinder Civic. And it's riding a little rough, but that's what you can expect from just 2 cylinders. I'd speed it up a little bit more, and then see if we can go to 5th. I'm at about 48 right now, 49. And it doesn't look like I can take it over 50. Oh, here we go, I'm at 50. Oh. 51. Well, it looks like that's about as good as I'm going to do, is get up to 50 miles an hour. So apparently we can't do highway driving with just 2 cylinders. We'd have to choose the 3-cylinder option if you want to travel on highways. Alright guys, so here I am one last time. We're going to try and get it back up to speed here. I'm going to try and do it a little bit faster this time. We're already up to 20. We're already up to 30. I mean, there's a price to pay for good gas mileage.